come on, Philip. You've got to inspire me.
Tonight, Adelaide Oval plays host to the 2017 Australian Football Hall of Fame. Six greats of the game will be celebrated. One name enshrined as a legend.
Hard on his wrong foot, manoeuvres around, and this is a goal!
Welcome to the AFL 360 Hall of Fame special.
It's our favourite night on the footy calendar, and you're invited to a very special edition of AFL 360 live from the Adelaide Oval. The luminaries gather in Adelaide for the Hall of Fame, and there's footy heroes everywhere as we bring you live coverage of the 6 inductees and the announcement of a new legend. A future Hall of Famer is set to play his 300th game this weekend, and as we celebrate his wonderful exploits, the question still remains about where Gary Ablett will finish his career. Injury has struck the D's again, just as they rise up the ladder. Jordan can tell us more as he and Jack take over the 360 desk back home. Yes, good evening everyone, and welcome to the Adelaide Oval on a magnificent night for our game. It is the Hall of Fame, it is AFL 360. Great to be here. Hello, Robbo.
Hello, Hutto.
Oh, come on.
I nearly did it again. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I love this night. Jared, of course, will take part in the official proceedings. We'll speak to him in a moment, but you just have to look around the room and get the feel, and I'm sure you'll get that at home tonight to see what a special night it is.
You know, we're really lucky. We say it every time, every year. We're really lucky to be a part of it. And I know I'll have trouble with footy the day I don't get a little bit giddy when I walk in and see all these champion players. And they're not just champion players, they're iconic figures in our game. Very lucky to meet some of them. It's just a fantastic evening.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I'm really excited about bringing everyone the coverage live tonight. All through the night we'll be here, and the inductees. It is exciting. And that feel you talked about, from the moment you get to Adelaide, you see people at the airport, you come to into the hotel, into the city, you walk around and you bump into people. And it's not just the current players, and probably for us, it's the people like Johnny Platten and like Parko and Stephen Kernahan and all those ones going back even further that were our heroes growing up. Yeah, that you get to see.
I got to the lineup, Hutto, and I walked up behind Wayne Schimmelbusch and Johnny Rantel, and he was only on open mic recently, and I remember Mike Sheehan introducing me to Johnny Rantel, and I was telling Jared this story, unbelievably, about 2 weeks ago. The first person that Mike introduced me to at my first Hall of Fame was John Rantel. And here he was, 20-odd years later, just in an open mic. He's a wonderful man, John Rantel.
Yeah, and I think it's great that they are all here and get to continue to come back to these sort of occasions. And as we welcome a man who's going to have a big part in tonight's official proceedings in Jared Waitley. It's a great night in Adelaide too, and it's great that we can take the show on the road, Jared.
It is. Hello, Robbo.
Hello, Jared.
Quite sure I care for the view, quite frankly.
What do you think of the view from this side?
It has been, like, just walking around Adelaide today and ran into Peter McKenna, and then on the next corner there's Barry Round, and down the street is Peter Hudson, and then you walk in, John Platten's in the cab queue that you're in, and so it is. It's the most superb night, and as the game honours the pioneers of football in South Australia, as that's the purpose of being here, and there'll come a time when the event goes to Perth to honour the pioneers of Western Australian football, and there is a South Australian flavour to the night.
We do our show every night, Jared, and we have done for 5 years, but I detect every time I see you on this night, there's an edge. I don't know if it's nervousness, but there's certainly an edge. How do you feel going into a night like this?
So it's not nerves for me, it's just wanting each inductee to get the most out of the night, because I've been coming to see it for years and lucky enough to do it for a few, is you want them to have the full experience, and you know the whole room is there for them. So it's trying to convey that this is the one moment when it's all said and done that everybody craves, that you would talk about yourself in a way that sort of modesty doesn't usually allow, but we want to revel in the stories, and tonight's stories take us back 100 years. So we work through an age of football that most of us would have very little knowledge of through the years, where state of origin footy ruled, and always in the CV of these players is such a strong flavour of carnivals and famous days against or for Victoria, and then to the modern stuff which we've lived and breathed as kids and then as adults, which fires the imagination.
People of my era, 50 years of age, just remember the carnivals. But when you get to the Hall of Fame and you interview people who are getting inducted in the Hall of Fame, and they talk about the carnivals in the 60s, they really were like bigger than grand finals in a lot of ways, weren't they?
Yep, and when there were rare successes for whichever state rare success
Every
represented.
4 years it was.
Beatles-like receptions and those sorts of things. And, you know, the gentleman will tell you, I played on this player who is a legend and never had a flogging like it.
Next year when we go through this camera, we're going to have a competition to see who can yell out the names. Is that all right?
Good, yes.
So that's what I get like. I get like a schoolboy. There's Jez out there.
You've touched on it already, Jerry, but the stories of these people, and I think that's what I love the most about this night. Not only them talking about themselves, but talking about their families, and that great opportunity to say that public thanks. And it's not just a glib word, it's so heartfelt, isn't it?
Yeah, and the best speeches live on. I mean, remember when Greg Williams got up there and said, I deserve this?
Yeah.
And Rick Davies, who just slayed the audience at Parliament House, and just how heartfelt Andrew McLeod was when he took the stage. So you just want to set them up to have the best experience of that. And then there's a legend, which always adds to the climax of the night. The last one was Tony Lockett. And these are figures straight from the collective imagination of football. No matter which way it goes, the 4 or 5 possibilities.
How many legends? 24?
It's 26. Tonight is 27.
When you did Plugger last year, what an imposing figure he was, just not in the game, but standing next to you. How did you feel standing next to Tony Lockett?
I'd never really spoken to Tony.
Yeah.
So it's a tremendous honour to be there. And then everyone wants to hear from Plugger. We've so rarely heard from him. So tonight's figure, when he's up there, revel in it, because it's so many decades of football involved in this person's experience. So the freedom to share it, to revel in it, and then, as you say, to get the thanks right at the end. So that's what's in store for us.
Well, can't wait, Jared. Good luck. You won't need it, but I'm sure you'll do a great job and enjoy the night.
Thanks.
Break a leg.
Have we really left the studio with those two back at home?
Yeah, we have.
Hope it's all right.
We'll be right. We'll get through it.
All right. Well, we couldn't come to Adelaide, of course, without celebrating South Australian football, and South Australian football is going pretty well at the moment. And the man who's in charge of the team that is the hottest team in the competition, they're top of the ladder, the Adelaide Crows, are ready for action again. A big Thursday night, and Don Pike to join us.
Hit the ground running, goes forward to Walker. That is champagne football.
The Adelaide Crows at the Adelaide Oval, the #1 scoring team in the comp. It's been a masterclass.
I sit back at the box at times and some of the ball movement we were able to execute. As I said, to credit to the players, but I'm sure our fans are loving watching them.
Adelaide impressed you, Liggy.
They have really professional, really ruthless display.
Yeah, that forward line is as potent as any in the competition. And when they get up and running and provide the service they did tonight, not many teams can stop them.
They've made a statement, the Adelaide Crows. They're not just top, they're top by a mile. Yeah, they couldn't have been any more impressive. They are the team to beat.
They are in scintillating form, and for all who mean to challenge, they are the measuring stick.
And it's great to welcome Don Pike to the desk here at the Hall of Fame night. Welcome to you, Don.
Yeah, good evening, guys. Brilliant night, isn't it?
It is. You can feel that already, can't you?
Yeah, it's the first time I've been to one of these, and just to see the faces in the crowd, they're guys I grew up watching, when I was a young fella, on the winners, basically, and, it's filled with so many great names and faces.
You've achieved so much in football, but did you get excited like you were a child again seeing your heroes?
Yeah, it's a weird feeling. You sort of come in and look around and you see all these guys who, as you say, you've probably idolised as a kid, and to have them all in one room is it's a really special night for the competition. It's
almost if being an AFL coach actually takes it's a step down when you're in this company.
Oh yeah, well there's so many guys in this room who've achieved so much, in their careers and have done so much for the game that it's it's going to be a great night. And you played with some pretty special ones back in the day too, didn't you? Yeah, look, I played with a number of the guys who are already in the hall, which is fantastic, and I was fortunate to play in an era we had we had a great side and we had great players as a consequence. And
Tira,
loved it.
Tira, Djakovic. I don't think Bush is in. I think Guy McKenna is in the team. Can you think of anything else? Anyone else?
No one else really comes off the top of my head. I don't know if Kempy's in it. He'd be worthy, but
I think he should be.
He's a fantastic player. We had a great side in that time, and some wonderful players. And the guys you mentioned were right at the top of the tree.
Can we get on to the Crows?
Yeah,
if that's all right. Hey, I heard you talk on 5AA during the week, Pikey, about setting for the second half of the year, the mental approach, the physical approach of playing, but sort of, it's probably new for you as well, but getting the players mentally focused on the last 10 games.
Yeah.
What have you got planned on how much time do you put into preparing that?
Well, I think we took the opportunity at the halfway point to sort of assess where we covered, and we've done some things really well. And as I said to the players, we should be happy with what we've achieved, but certainly not satisfied because there's more work to do. And some of that work exists around, and we're seeing it this year already. I think I used the example in that interview around, say, the Geelong versus West Coast game on last Thursday night, where West Coast brought a level of intensity and pressure around the ball which they hadn't seen for a while. And that, that's the same, in essence, the same 22 that played previously. And it's that mentality of how you approach the game, which is proving to be a big difference this year, I think.
It does seem to be more than ever. I mean, can you explain that at all?
Well, I just think it's the evenness of the comp. I mean, what you've got is you've got so many sides who, we play a side on Thursday night who is, in essence, 2 games outside the 8, and yet they're sitting in 17th, and they've had some great wins and some great performances. And, we sit here and say, well, if you don't bring near your best week in, week out, you're going to be in trouble, and that's the reality of the comp, and it's that even.
We asked Brett Scott and Richo quite often on Monday night, strategy v effort.
Yeah.
Without the effort, your strategy is not going to work anyway. So how important is, I know it's an old-fashioned word, but as Hutto said, we see it every week. They're up, they're down, they're up, they're down. It really affects the result. How important is it compared to strategy?
Well, the two sort of go hand in glove from where we come from, but you're right. Without effort, everything else falls away, and you can adjust structure, you can adjust strategy, but if that isn't underpinned by a really strong effort and a presence on the ground, you're often going to be fighting one hand behind your back, and that starts everything going. And I think we're seeing that in games, and it was even games last weekend. You sort of see the Gold Coast Carlton game that sort of started, and Gold Coast were just all over them. Carlton were all over them, and really. At the end of that first quarter, the numbers were clearly trending the way of a Carlton win. And
Melbourne and the Dogs were another prime example. Yep. So when you see a game like that, do you actually reference that with your coaching, or do you try and keep it completely, no, we're going to talk about our group, I'm not going to talk about opposition?
Oh, I think you can reference it to a point, because clearly the players watch a lot of football as well, and they're aware of what's happening in the industry, and they can, if they've watched the game, often they can see the difference, and they can see what creates winning for one team versus the other. And probably from a coaching viewpoint, we're looking at it more from the style they're playing, because there's still the strategic component of it, and there's still the game and the setup and those things. So you're probably assessing both, but understanding that, as I said, in this comp, any team that brings genuine effort any day is capable of winning.
Last one on coaching, and hopefully you can open us up a little bit. Are you going into foreign territory second half of the year, 9-3, sitting pretty comfortable? How prepared are you for the next 10 weeks?
I wouldn't say we're sitting comfortable. I'd say we're sitting in a good position.
You're sitting better than some other teams.
Well, and that's the opportunity our guys have created for themselves. And so we look at that in the context of, well, what does that provide us? It provides us a good position to springboard the second half of the year, but no guarantees. And we need to create and continue to create winning. Otherwise, that position becomes under threat. And they understand that, and we understand that we've created an opportunity, but now how we maximise it really is the challenge.
Okay, again, it's foreign for you as well, because you've been involved in clubs, but not as senior coach. So how did you use this period of time to maybe reset with yourself?
I used the period to pretty much get away from footy, to be honest, and have a real spell. And because it's important that my mindset is the same as the players. I've got to be fresh, I've got to have the right level of energy, and I've got to bring the right passion to my job. And therefore the break I used to actually just have a bit of downtime.
Where'd you go?
I went down to Kangaroo Island and spent 3 nights with my wife down there, which was great, and we didn't...
Reacquainted?
It wasn't so much reacquainted, but just got to spend some quality time. And if I've got the laptop open looking at the footy all the time, it's kind of hard to do
Banging
that.
over the head with you.
So it was a good break, and you need to do that. I mean, the industry is full on. It's a week to week. And that said, clearly the cogs are still turning in my head around what is important, for me in the second half of the year. But that time away does allow you to step back and actually say, okay, what have we done well? What do we can reward ourselves for? But what do we got to keep getting better at? Because if we don't keep getting better, the competition will come up to us and go past us.
Are you the type to wake up at 2:30 in the morning and think, have we moved him to there, or have I done this right, or do you sleep soundly?
I have my moments. I think every senior coach does. I don't think it's one of those jobs where you can actually ever be completely comfortable with exactly what's happened. That's the nature. You're always striving for more improvement.
And I know you're focusing on the week to week, and you have to, but as Robert said, we get closer to the finals. Do you start to zero in on the teams that you're going to meet in September a little bit?
Nah, we're not really in that position at this point. As I said, we've created ourselves an opportunity. We've got Hawthorn in 2 nights' time, and we really look pretty much week to week, and then we'll plan from there as to whatever happens in terms of if we continue to win games, we'll give ourselves that next opportunity. We'll address that when we need to.
Well, good luck. Great to have you with us tonight, and enjoy the night. I'm sure you will.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. All right. Don Pike joining us here in the rooms as proceedings start to get underway. Whispering. Coming up on the weekend, the man is going to play his 300th game. He's certainly going to be a Hall of Famer in the future. I speak of Gary Ablett.
The dream was always to play one AFL game. To go forward 16 years and think I'm only one game away from playing 300 is, it's pretty special to me, and I know the hard work that's gone in, over that time. It is a really good feeling because, you do put a lot of time into your recovery, a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that not a lot of people see.
Stokes Ablett from the pocket. That is as good as it gets from the genius.
It is a brutal game. It's a tough game. So there's been plenty of times I've gone home after a loss, I'm feeling sore and thinking, I don't know how much longer I can do this for. But you find a way to get yourself up because we do love the game of football. We're given that platform to be able to give back to people, to entertain.
Here's Ablett from the pocket, high ball. Don't tell me. Yes. Goodness gracious me. No. Goodness gracious me. That is an unbelievable goal from Ablett.
Goes right, goes left, goes around the corner. Oh, don't you love him? He's magnificent.
I want to get back to playing some finals football. On the G, that's what it's about, in front of 50, 60,000 people. It is a real buzz, and that's something that we talk about every week. Come on, boys, let's make sure we put in the work because it's well worth it when you're playing in September.
Superstar Gary Ablett.
He's one of the greatest, that's for sure, Gary Ablett. I guess when his career finally finishes, Robbo, we'll try and work out how he fits into with all these players that are here tonight.
Yeah, you've got to keep bringing me back in because I just turned around at the ad break, everyone, and there was Lee Matthews, Peter Hudson and Barry Cable welcoming everyone there. Well, three of the greats of all time.
Their CV fits pretty well alongside that, doesn't it, with what Gary's achieved so far?
I think you announced at the start of the show. I know it's an American term, but he's a future Hall of Fame. In all honesty, of this generation, I actually think that Gary Ablett and perhaps Luke Hodge may be considered legends of the AFL down the track. I don't know how long that will be, but extraordinary, those two footballers. Gary to go from a small forward pocket, getting told that he has to train harder to run out for his 300th game and be recognised, I think, pretty widely as the best player of this century. Yep. Fair comment or not?
I think so.
Buddy's up there, there's no doubt about that, but I think Gary's the best player of this century.
Judd's been okay. There's a few, but let's not start that debate now.
No, we're not having a debate, but I mean, that resume, and Mike Sheehan 2 years ago and Malcolm Blyant, they said he was better than his old man, mate. What an accolade. What a description that is.
And when I think of Gary, I mean, you have to think of the story, obviously, and carrying the same name as a man who, I don't think there's been a player who was more exciting to watch or who fans had more affection for than his dad. And we caught glimpses of Gary Jr. coming through, but you couldn't in your wildest dreams have imagined he would end up being the player that he's been. And I also think of him as the person and what a shy young man he was, and there's great vision and archival vision of him being interviewed when he played in the schoolboys footy and just barely saying a word, and just the maturity of him as a person and that looks you in the eye and has great footy discussions now. It's terrific.
It's a really nice thing to say, Hutto, because he's one of the most respectful people in the game. He's softly spoken. He doesn't open up too much, but he doesn't ignore questions. I reckon he is probably the most skilled player I've seen this century. His ability to kick left foot, right foot, the ability to kick on the run, a very, very underrated skill to kick it. The able to balance, he's got such balance, push off. How many times have we seen Gary find space when there's none by spinning out? So he had a press conference today, Gary, and I don't even know what he said. I don't think Gary can say much now in his life. We just actually sit back and on Sunday just say, hey, Gaz, we've been really lucky to watch you play.
And what he didn't say, he wouldn't talk about today, was where he'll be next year. Where do you think he'll be next year?
I don't know. People who either have got bias or some link to Geelong tell me that he is going to Geelong.
Still a bit to play out, I think, as to what he's going to be worth. And
it's like we're talking about the Players Association in a second, but there's always something to play out. But if you really want it, and I think that Geelong wants it, I think Gary wants it, and I think they'll come to an agreement, and Gary will be at Geelong next year.
All right. Well, as you mentioned, as far as the Players Association are concerned, it was a big day for the players today, and the AFL, and indeed the game. The AFL been able to do what a lot of other sports haven't been able to do, and that is reach agreement with their players on a new CBA. And the payout will be big, at least $1.84 billion over 6 years.
The AFL and the AFLPA have had long, but at all times respectful negotiations, and it's a testament to both Gillen and Paul and their teams that we're here today with a genuine win-win agreement.
The players have had to win and got what they want, which could be described as a percentage model that is fair and ties them in a partnership sense to the success of our game. And we've got what we want, which gives us industry protection and flexibility, and ensures that our game goes ahead for the next 100 years and doesn't put it at risk.
It hasn't been easy, but I think we've had really good visibility over the AFL's finances. And that's been one of the key things here, is that they've shared the information with us, allowing us to get to a point where we're comfortable with where we've got to.
What do you think of that?
Well, look, I think it's a fantastic day for the players, but I don't necessarily think that it's necessarily a loss for the AFL, because they've been able to come to an agreement. It's a big deal. You can see some of the details. 20% first up. I mean, from a practical point of view, the first thing is what's going to happen in this off-season coming up, because the clubs are suddenly going to be loaded with money.
We can sit here and talk for an hour about this. Everyone at home, they got a really, really big increase. I think a lot of people agree that they deserve the increase. The Players Association wanted, a set percentage. They have got that in a roundabout way.
They have, and that's significant.
Yeah, that was a major saver of this deal. The AFL believe that they got protection, and Gil McLaughlin said that today. So all we can be so thankful for, and well done to the Players Association, the AFL, they negotiated and they got to the right outcome where the game wasn't affected by greed and money. And I'm just so happy that our game, we didn't go on strike. I can't begin to tell you how disappointing.
Particularly given the environment in other sports at the moment. Cricket comes to mind, and other sports as well.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I agree with that, and that's why our faith in football always shines through. It always shines through football. If there's something bad happening, footy will fix it. Players Association dealing, strike, it's okay. Footy will fix it. The money, everyone at home, the AFL works really hard on keeping ticket prices down, food prices down. So all the money's not just going to the players that came in from the media agreement. Anyway, it's a really good day for everyone.
The bad news is, Robbo, it doesn't extend to commentators or hosts or journalists, not at this stage anyway.
It should, because I'm trying to talk and someone's talking behind me. Is that Jared?
That's all right. It probably is. All right, we're going to take a break. I'll tell you a couple of guys who will be happy with the deal. Jordan and Jack, they're going to join us next as our coverage continues from the Adelaide Oval. It's a great night for footy. The boys are with us to talk about the ups and downs of the season next.
Great to have you on board.
Yeah, picked a great week to come on. Perfect.
One more the job, and it's Gary Rowan. 8 foot and they're rabid, the Swans. Endless heartbreak in this season for the Tigers.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a game of 1%, 2%, incremental things, unfortunately. The great, I reckon our fans come to every fierce contest from our boys. Had 7 wins, we've won those games. Unfortunately, we've probably lost some games that we should have won that we didn't quite take our chances.
So mixed emotions for our players on the weekend as more heartbreak for the Tigers and Jack Riewoldt, but the Demons are going very nicely, thank you very much. And they do have an injury hiccup. We can go back to the 360 studios, right? I wonder who's sitting in your seat and who's sitting in Jared's out of Jack and Jordan. Welcome, boys.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Hey, boys.
Congratulations, Jack. You're the latest $1 million player in the AFL after today's AFL PA agreement.
I don't know about that, Robbo, but no, look, it's I suppose a landmark day for the players in the AFL. It's been lingering around, but yeah, glad I suppose to get the papers signed and to move on to bigger and better things.
Was there really a threat of strike? Be honest.
Oh, look, the players had to explore every option. We sort of felt extremely strongly about the things that we wanted to fight for, and look, no one ever wanted to see the strike, but at the moment now, I suppose it's done. All parties are happy, and what a great season we've been having.
God, you're boring without us two there.
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
Feels different. It feels like, I don't know, my spatial awareness is a little bit off, so...
Geordie had to check that your earpiece had been clean for him to use as well, Robbo, so...
I can't believe they didn't fly us over.
Well, you can afford it yourselves now, I would have thought, Jordan, to fly yourself over a business.
Well, maybe we'll have the seating arrangements that we were given in the first place. So looking forward to the flight to Perth this week. Maybe we'll be up the Pointy and turning left instead of right.
Jack, can we return to matters on the field? And obviously, as we said, more heartbreak, unfortunately, for the Tigers on the weekend. Was it different to the other ones, this one? Did it feel different or not?
Oh, look, I think it's you say heartbreak, but at the moment, the results are showing bar one this year that if you want to beat us, you're going to have to be there right to the end. And unfortunately, we've lost a few tight ones, but we've managed to win some games where it's been close at three-quarter time as well. So the tale that's being painted there that the people at home can see is obviously not a great one. But then on the flip side of that, there's been 4 games where we've been within a goal or behind by 20 points as we were against the D's, and we were able to get up and win. So we're pretty. We know that we've got some areas we want to work on. There's some areas from the weekend that we want to work on, but we're playing some reasonably consistent football. It's like any side of this time of year, we want to continue to build towards the back end of the season.
Hey, Jack, everyone comes at Richmond after they have a loss. Danny Frawley called it a team that just disintegrates mentally. What are your thoughts about that?
I don't pay any attention to that, so that's just. I don't agree with the comments. As I just said then, there's games that we've been behind that we've won, and there's obviously games that we've lost as well. But for 11 of the 12 games that we've played this year, we've been in it right to the last siren. So I'm really proud of our guys. I know Damien's really proud of our guys, how competitive we are. It's AFL footy, you win games and you lose games, but we need to keep working on it. We know this, as I said before, there's areas that we can improve in, but we'll continue to work to get better, and as I said before, we'll just continue to drive towards the end of the season. Hopefully we can start to play the best footy that we know we can.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons this was hard to stomach, Jack, was your first half was just so good. I mean, the pressure was amazing and you were absolutely dominating. I guess in the end, that ability to not kick enough goals, I mean, it's obviously what the aim of the game is, and you are holding out one out in terms of hiding that forward line is still proving costly. Are you confident you can get that right mix to be able to score enough?
Yeah, certainly. I think that's something that we can get better at. Look, we'd love to be up there in that sort of 100 points a game region, but look, at the moment, the really pleasing thing for us is our defence has been really strong. So that's one thing that I know that every side in the AFL wants to get right, their defence, and for us, we feel like if we continue to train our offence, we can start to play better and score more in games. So look, we'd love to be scoring 100 plus points a week, but some weeks you aren't going to do that. We come up against a pretty good side in Sydney. In that first quarter, we got the momentum and we were able to dominate the game, but they're a great side, Sydney, and the wins and loss column for them doesn't reflect where they're probably going to finish up at the end of the year. So we knew they'd come at us, and unfortunately they got the better of us at the last siren.
I think you took some angry pills, Jack. I saw you trying to fight Buddy Franklin there at one stage after his collision. Did you think he was going to get suspended for that? And more importantly, did you have time in the game to see the Rance-Franklin matchup and see how it was playing out?
Look, I suppose that matchup's always one that's really looked forward to, and there've been plenty of media hype about it during the week. So you do sort of sit back and you really admire Rancey sort of getting right up and close to Buddy. I actually don't go much too near him, because of the ends of the ground that we do play at. He's an extremely strong and big boy. So that's what we love to see. Everyone talks about the Carey and Djakovic games, and I suppose this is pretty similar. We've got a current three-time All-Australian running years going in terms of Alex playing. Some guys are questioning whether he could be the best backman of the modern era, and arguably the greatest player to play the game in the last 10 years in Buddy Franklin. So you love getting a front seat view to that, and I thought Alex certainly held his own on the weekend and was certainly voted by the coaches as the best player on the ground.
Yeah, he was magnificent. You're probably lucky that he's your teammate so you don't have to play on him. Jack, can I turn our attention to Jordan? And obviously, fantastic weekend, a great response, a fantastic performance from all the team. But the news today that Nathan Jones is going to be out for at least 4 to 6 weeks. Just what you don't need with the prospect of getting Maxi Gawn and then Jesse Hogan back shortly after.
Yeah, it seems to be that we get one player back and we lose one at the same time. But I thought he was going to be all right. He went off with a quad injury and then came back on to test it out, and then scans revealed today that it probably wasn't the best news that we'd hoped for. But as all times when someone goes out, it's unfortunate to that person, and he's a leader of the club and well regarded within the four walls of the football club. But he'll be back bigger and better for the right time of the year.
And you talked last week about how disappointed you were the week before with your own game, but you certainly responded as you promised to.
Yeah, I mean, every player when they have a bad game wants to respond, and it was nice to get my hands on the ball and improve some of the areas that I was deficient in the week before. And it was pleasing, but I think the pleasing thing, it was a really hot game, one of the hottest games I've played in for a while. The pressure rating, which I think Champion Data do, was off the charts in the first half, and Western Bulldogs brought that, and we were able to weather the storm early on and go away with a really good win.
Now, I know you're on social media, Jordan, and you too, Jack. It's really funny, the Thomas Bug thing. No media, mainstream media, really worried too much, but a lot of the players, including you, Jordan, a lot of the players and the coaches have said, no. That's not the way we go about it. Has there been an overreaction from the players, or is this not something you want to see in the game?
I enjoy it. I understand that side of it, but I also understand you don't want to give the opposition ammunition to come out, either perform better because you've been provoked by an opposition player, or get into that player physically. And it's probably become a bigger story than what we would have liked, and even getting asked on a Tuesday night for something that happened on Sunday certainly creates extra work for a lot of people around the football club. It's good banter, and it probably adds to the atmosphere of the game, and I can understand that side of it. But from a player and a club point of view, we probably want to keep that stuff in check and not give ammunition to opposition sides.
It's a crazy world where you guys are in, because we speak about sledging. We've had sledging on the agenda this year. Spoken to both of you about what he said on the field. And someone sends out a photo and says, we're coming at you. And the industry goes, no, we can't have that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know about it before the game, which was probably a good thing. But, I mean, if you look at it and there was no harm to it, there was no malice in it, there was nothing he did it the week before which didn't get picked up. But this week it got picked up, and it has become a big story. Whether that's right or wrong, I'm not sure, but I don't think you'll expect a tweet this week. Maybe I'll send a private message to Sam Mitchell.
Jordan, you've played in very successful teams. Does this feel like one on the rise now after what you've achieved on the weekend?
Yeah, there's certainly games along the season that you feel like the team is building and galvanising as a side. And the one on the weekend, you come up against the reigning premiers, and credit to them, they brought the pressure which they've been known for. And for a side like Melbourne, who have probably been a little bit up and down in handling that pressure this year, we thought we really handled that well in the first half and came in at half-time and reset. But probably the 10 minutes before half-time was really hot. It was on and the crowd were involved, and it could have been a time where Western Bulldogs got a really big run on, but our structures and our defensive end really held up and came in at half-time to reset, and then came out in the second half and played some really good football.
Can I just quickly ask you both about the niggle? Now that you're not allowed to jump a punch, does that actually favour the nigglers a bit? Because we saw a lot of it on the weekend.
Oh, I think, look, it does a little bit. I reckon we're starting to see probably the tagger start to come back in vogue as well, but Sydney we clearly went after Johannesson the week before, and Melbourne have used the same blueprint there, so they would have known that it would have been coming, even if they didn't see the Instagram from Tommy Bugg. So, but it's just part of the game. If there's an advantage that can be had within the rules and within fair play, I think most sides would jump on top of it.
That's the thing, you can't do a hell of a lot with the rules that surround free kicks. So, I mean, there's a little bit of push and shove, which happens every week. Some weeks a certain player might get singled out to try and nullify, you know, their influence on the game. But the rules are there to protect the players at the end of the day. So there's not too much that goes on off the ball.
Hey, Jack, are you growing a moustache?
Well, do you like it, do you, Roy?
That's right.
Yeah, no, well, you are away, so I did have to channel my my inner Mark Robinson. So yeah, it's it'll be gone by the weekend. I can promise you that, though. Don't go in too close there.
Magnificent. Boys, of course, Jared and Robbo will be back with you next week. Both of you got huge games this weekend. Good luck for that.
Thanks, boys.
Thanks,
back
boys.
to you guys in Adelaide.
See you, lads.
Jordan and Jack, and we're counting down to the first inductee. It's not far away, and a member of the Hall of Fame, our very own Brad Johnson, will join us next to talk a bit of doggies.
One of the tough things is with a younger group winning a premiership is younger players handling expectation.
It looks like they've lost the connection between each other.
There are players down there that aren't seeing eye to eye on a number of issues non-footy related.
He's starting to look like, I've pulled that lever, I've pulled that lever, I've pulled that lever. I'm not getting the reaction I want. I got it last year, but I can't get it this year.
Their forward line looked dysfunctional, but you got to ask the question, is it the midfield and what they're doing kicking it in there?
They lost enough games last year, but when they lost, you just admired them, even when they lost a game.
Yeah.
The last 2 weeks, you haven't had that feeling.
We're only minutes away from our first inductee at the 2017 Australian Football Hall of Fame here at the Adelaide Oval. And it's perfect timing to welcome a Hall of Famer to the desk, Bulldog superstar Brad Johnson. Jono,
hello,
see your smiling face.
Hello, Jono.
How are you going?
Although you weren't really smiling, were you, on the weekend?
No, it was a tough game to see the club get dismantled by Melbourne. It's a credit to where Melbourne are at as a football club. I think they're consistent across the lines. They play tough, hard football, and the Dogs threw everything at them in the first 15 minutes of that game. Couldn't score. Melbourne went bang, bang, kicked a couple in a row, and that was the end of the Dogs for the day. So it's a couple of times now we've seen that from the Western Bulldogs in terms of Sydney in their first quarter and what they did to them, and they weren't able to handle that. So there's a few games in a row now the Dogs have struggled a little bit.
So you're here to play real or overreaction, and my first question to you is something I think you might have said during the commentary on the weekend. I don't know if you regret it at the moment. You said it. The Dogs can't win the flag.
And you may have gone over it a couple of times
Maybe.
at the time, Hutto, with me. No, that's real for me at the moment, because for the Dogs to go back-to-back in my mind, they need to finish top 4 this year. They finished 7th last year. They needed to grow and to be a top 4 side, and that's not going to happen now, I don't think, on the back of the defeat on the weekend. It's going to be a little bit too difficult for them to reach top 4. Look,
can they go any further than that? They probably can, but ultimately, at this stage, it's real for me that the Dogs can't win it this year.
I thought Hutto was really rude not to announce that you are a Hall of Famer. And it's fantastic sitting next to you, Jono. We were both here when you got inducted into the Hall of Fame. Very quickly, what's it like to be back here?
Oh, it's a great night. Hutto and I are pretty close now, so that's probably why. It just doesn't matter. Don't worry about that.
It's great to welcome a Hall of Famer. Hey, just listen to me, Robbo.
We're past all that, Robbo. So Hutto's helped me so much over the years. But look, honestly, it's a fantastic night. You can just see the buzz in the room, and sitting with Matty Lloyd and Groundy and Michael Voss, it's going to be a great night.
Fair table. Righto, back to the hard work. Earn your money. The Dogs could miss the finals. Real or overreaction?
No, that's an overreaction for me. I still think they're good enough to make the finals, but I don't, as I said before, I don't think they're good enough to win it from 8th or 7th this year. I think that's something that was out of the box last year for the football club, and it was great to see that happen. But I don't think that will happen 2 years in a row, Robbo.
Well, there has been a little bit of speculation about things at the kennel. So question 3 is infighting is hurting the cause.
No, that's an overreaction for me. Look, you think of you hear things along the way, and for me, it's an interesting one where you sort of sit there and go, okay, you've got potentially some young players involved or whoever it is. It doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is the club will deal with infighting or situations or rumours or whatever it is. Clubs have always done that in the past, and they'll continue to do that in the future. And I know you've spoken, Robbo, to the people in charge at the club to clarify situations, and so have I, because you hear things and you want things clarified, because you get asked questions like that throughout your role in the media. And it's a simple and overreaction for me at the moment, because pretty much the club deal with and are dealing with things at the moment that they need to stamp out, so it doesn't become a problem.
All clubs have to deal with different issues through every football season. This one just got out a bit. Righto, Luke Beveridge can turn it around, Jono.
That's real. Yeah, that's real.
He's changed his tune, hasn't he?
No, he can turn it around.
Of course he can. I thought you were wavering a bit. I think you've got really strong belief that they can turn it around.
I think the players believe that Luke Beveridge can change it around, and that's the most important thing. I can sit on the outside, I can sit at level 2 at Etihad Stadium with my kids and enjoy the football and barrack and all those things when I'm not in a role. But ultimately, he can turn this around, and he can turn it around very quickly, because the players believe in his approach to football. They've got a great relationship with him, and he can obviously ask the hard questions towards them. And look, where the club's at the moment, they've had a lot of changes over the last few weeks in terms of whether it's through omission or through injury once again, and they lose Lin Jong on the weekend to a knee, and wish him all the best. But ultimately, that's the nature of what happened last year. It's the nature of what's going on a little bit again this year. But reality is they're not cohesive 22 at the moment that run out for the Western Bulldogs, and they've got to change that.
Hey, back to the night here, John. That's what I really want to talk about.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
To Lloydie and Granny, go on, see ya.
How good is it to come on these sort of nights? You've been inducted now, and you get to come back and enjoy it for years to come.
Sit and relax. It's a great night, Hutto, of course, and sitting with Kevin Sheedy as well. I'm a bit nervous about Sheeds because I don't know him outside of having him coached against me, and I know that he was actually quite fierce, or his team was quite fierce towards us,
he was fierce.
And that towards me. So I will enjoy having a couple of conversations with Sheeds, maybe when I get the courage up a little bit later on.
Go back like this, go.
Jono, enjoy the night. Great to have you with us.
Thank you, Hutto. Enjoy the night.
And Robbo, we're going to take a little break because we're going to head to the first inductee. It's about to be announced, so it's a fantastic night ahead. We're going to stay with you all through the night, but we're going to join our MC for the night, Troy Gray, as we get proceedings underway in the Hall of Fame here at the Adelaide Oval.